The last thing we wanted to talk about is we touched on this last week, but pitcher injuries, elbow injuries, Tommy John surgeries, like all-time high. It seems every year it's at an all-time high. But we're now getting each side, the Players Association and MLB, bickering about this, and like Players Association saying the league doesn't care about us. The pitch clock is leading to more pitcher injuries. MLB, I guess, saying no, we don't care about you. I don't know what the players are really that upset about with this, but there was a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. First is Gerrit Cole, after he played catch on Monday at Yankee Stadium, spoke to the media for 18 minutes about this subject, which is a crazy amount of time to be talking about one specific thing. So he's obviously passionate about this. And then there's some comments that I saw on Instagram from Verlander that I want to play in a minute. But Gerrit Cole said, I don't know what the answer is, but I know it's not black and white, like both of the statements that were put out. And he was very frustrated when talking about this. He's talking about the statements from the PA and from the league. He says, regarding the new rules that MLB has implemented in recent years, I don't feel like players are the main focus of it, and taking care of players is the main focus of it. He said, Commissioner Rob Manfred is supposed to care about players, supposed to really deeply care about them, like that is his job. Now I want to pause there for a minute. That is not Rob Manfred's job, Garrett. It's not to just care. It's not to care about the players. It's to make the league as best as possible. That's his job.
The product of baseball is his job.
Yes. Not the players. That is the Players Association job.
However, the product of baseball, when players are in a good spot, is usually better.
Usually, but has not been in recent years. And that is why players
you could go back to multiple decades and multiple eras of different things happening.
Sure. But we're not talking about the dead ball era. We're not talking about
the game of baseball is put above any one individual player, or the considerations are more for the entertainment of the sport and the popularity of the sport. This is why they looked the other way for the steroids for such a long time. This is why the ball got juiced. These are all the things. They're not looking necessarily at the ramifications. It is the Players Association's job at that point to protect their players and to make sure that all these changes that the baseball is making are agreed upon and, are up to snuff with what they believe is best for the players. And they will forever butt heads on these points.
Yes, exactly. And
we can all want the kumbaya, but
it's never
kumbaya just doesn't happen.
It's never going to happen. They're leading up to, we talked about this, like the next CBA is after the 2025 season. And as soon as that's signed, it's going to just be bickering towards the next one. Like that's how these two sides operate till the end of time.
Yeah. How often does the moon enter in front of the sun?
7 years. Every 7 years, it lines up perfectly with the MLB, almost perfectly with the MLB CAs. All right, so there's a couple other things that I want to mention from Cole, but let's play this Verlander clip. It's a 4.5-minute clip. We're only going to play some of it because, but I encourage you to go check it out on Instagram because it's really good.
Just the last couple of days, we've seen a bunch of pitchers go down with injuries. There's been blame on both sides. What do you think?
I don't know, man. It's tough. I think the game has changed a lot. I think it'd be easiest to sit here and blame the pitch clock. I think in reality, you put everything together and everything has a little bit of influence. I think the biggest thing is the style of pitching has changed so much. Everybody's throwing as hard as they possibly can and spinning the ball as hard as they possibly can. And, it's hard to deny those results. Obviously, how can you? It's a double-edged sword. How can you tell somebody to go out there and not do that when they're capable of throwing 100? And this young guy comes up and throws a pitch 95 and gives up a big homer, and everybody's like, "What the hell, man?" So something needs to change. I don't have all the answers. I know pitching. And I've been. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. It is what it is. I think the data's out there at this point. But when the balls started to change back in 2016 and they started flying out a bit more frequently, I know myself personally that started changing how I had to approach pitching. You have to start swinging. You have to start approaching the batter as I want swing and miss. I can't have him put the ball in play where the old adage, pitch down, pitch away from the guy, hit your spot, get weak contact early in the count, and then you can kind of go up. And that kind of went out the window when everybody started being able to leave the yard, especially opposite field.
So I'll stop it right there, because that is sort of what the article I referenced from Yahoo talked about as like the start of this, is that the juiced baseballs started to cause pitchers and pitching philosophies to change. As Verlander said, you need to miss a bat because you could still hit your spot on the outside corner and a guy can pop one out to right field, just like he could pull a ball in the middle of the plate, right? That's a factor. Then some of the other things that the Players Association is saying that the league has implemented that are leading to more injuries: pitch clock, obviously, less time between innings, and then crackdown on sticky stuff, which can't forget about the sticky stuff, and how Glasnow, right, was immediately said, oh, that's why I got injured. And then they quoted abnormal preseasons from 2020 to 2022, which obviously 2020 had an abnormal season because of the pandemic, but what are they? I don't know what they're referring to. 2021 and 2022 abnormal preseasons.
Well, just in general, the way that Verlander's talking, Verlander hit it on the head. And obviously some of these older veteran guys are looking at what's happening here and are concerned about this. Verlander referenced the conversations he would have with Scherzer in the dugout with the Mets, and some of the things that they were looking at. Obviously Cole is a veteran guy, is a leader. I think a lot of these guys at this point in their careers have that responsibility of kind of like being the pitchers in the locker room to talk about this stuff as well, and to compare, what has been done over a long period of time. And I think Verlander is completely spot on in the sense that this is not a one scenario, a reason for one scenario affecting why guys are getting all of these elbow injuries and injuries with their arm. It's not one thing. It's a multitude of things that have happened over time. It goes back to, maybe the juice ball era, but it goes even deeper than that with the way that, young hitters are playing and teaching or getting taught launch angle. So they're, and the pitchers are pitching more year round now with club baseball. Like, it goes really deep into the development of baseball too, I believe. There's a lot of kids coming up that are throwing just a hell of a lot more often and are being specialized at a younger age as well. And I think we're starting to see the ramifications of the fatigue of the arm because of some of those things that happened early in their development years. And you can't put a pin on that until the data is there, 15, 20 years later, and identify, it's not it's a trailing average that you have to kind of look at. But I think all of these things, and then you're changing, the pitch clock, and you're getting rid of the sticky stuff where, to Glasnow's point, like, you have to put different pressure on the ball. And when you put pressure on the ball, if you just squeeze a baseball right now, anybody, you can feel your forearm. And if you start moving your fingers, you can feel your forearm in different ways. And all of a sudden that trickles into your elbow. You can absolutely feel it just by squeezing a baseball. So yes, it does change things. And when you're putting that much torque on your arm in the way that they're doing it now, because mechanics have also changed, it's just a recipe for more arm injuries. And again, it's not one thing, it's a multitude of things. So the fact that the MLBPA is just pointing to one thing is a little irresponsible and I think that's kind of what Cole is kind of alluding to as well. It's like, that's not just it. That's what he's saying. That's not the only reason.
Well, I mean, that's definitely what Verlander's comments were.
I think Cole's saying that too, because the two sides are
He did say it's not black and white. Yes.
Yeah.
But he's then saying, like, he wants the league to have more empathy towards players. And
yeah, he also has to walk a line of understand. These guys all have to walk that line of understanding that there is a CBA going to be coming up, and there's leverage, and what you say matters, especially as the leaders.
Cole's also a player rep, so he's
exactly, which is extremely important. He's a politician.
Yeah. So Verlander, we paused the statement because the clip, it goes on for like another 3 minutes, but he goes on to talk about how when he was teammates with Scherzer last year, they were talking about, are there ways to incentivize teams to have pitchers go deeper in games, tying the starting pitcher to the DH and things like that. So it's it's probably just a case of like Scherzer and Verlander and probably even Cole for that matter are from a different era of pitching versus guys that are coming up now, where Verlander, when he started his career in 2006, which is crazy, it was, I need to go 7-8 innings as a starting pitcher. There was at least more of that. I need to get weak contact in certain spots so I can throw more economical and go deeper into games. And now he had to evolve way later in his career to be more of a strikeout pitcher. Not that he wasn't always a strikeout pitcher, but so like Verlander has been through those iterations of the league. Scherzer has been through those iterations of the league. Even Cole has, and there's probably other pitchers around baseball, but the majority of pitchers in baseball now have not been through those. They're from the post 2016 era of the league, which is now, like you talked about, this is not a quick fix because the horse has left the barn. All the way, players' development starts with this is how you need to pitch if you want to get to the major leagues. This is how teams in their minor leagues, this is how they're drafting pitchers, this is how they're developing pitchers, this is how pitchers are getting through the minor leagues. It's with strikeout stuff. It's not with sinker ball, ground ball stuff. It's with strikeout stuff.
You're right, and that's another reason why we see the 3 true outcomes. That's why we see longer games because they're not pitching to contact as it were in the past. But to Verlander's point, also one of the things that he said was, how do you blame a guy that is shown the path to do something that his body is capable of, throwing 100 miles per hour and being able to go out there and blow guys away and seeing the results. And that's what analytics is also kind of putting a microscope on. It's changing the way that mechanics are being taught. It's changing the way that individual guys are going about the way that they're pitching. It's not broad strokes. They may be looking at spin rate and the things that they have correlations to results, but to get the spin rate without any advanced sticky stuff, or to get that same spin rate, you're going to have to overthrow. You have to do different things. You have to put pressure on the ball differently. So there's a lot of things that are going into this. And when you look at what analytics has done, you can look at it as a good thing in the sense that they've identified like super hyper specific things that you can do to increase velocity, increase movement on your pitches. That's why we're seeing insane, jumps left and right from some of these pitches, like Kopech throwing 102 miles per hour. You got Michael King with like stupid movement on two-seam fastballs, essentially. Like this didn't happen because the way that they're being so hyper focused on how you can spin a ball and they can drill it and over again, and the technology is there. So it's tough to tell a guy that you can't do it when he knows he can.
Yep. Yeah, and this is how you're going to get to the major leagues and potentially make millions of dollars.
It's like smoking cigarettes. Like, you're going to get lung cancer at some point, very probably, higher percentage, but people who smoke cigarettes.
I guess if you're equating lung cancer to Tommy John surgery, sure.